Hello and welcome to Aniview Solo Reviews. I'm Lyzl, and today I'll be talking about Saikano. Saikano was made by Gonzo in 2002, it's 13 episodes long, and it's a romance, military, apocalyptic series. Chisei and Shuji seem like a regular high school couple, and to Shuji's knowledge, they are. However, with a terrifying war going on, Shuji learns that Chisei has been changed by the military. She has become a human weapon, and with every kill, she becomes even stronger. As Shuji is the only one who knows of her condition outside the military, Chisei confides in him and their relationship grows. As the war escalates and their relationship is tried, what will become of the world and those who inhabit it? Saikano tells the story of the last love song of this little planet. Saikano depicts a tragedy too often true in our own world. Its story is deep and possibly hits too close to home when considering the issues that face us today. It may have some flaws, but its message is strong and all too clear. I found that Saikano's animation takes some time to get used to. I didn't particularly like the character designs, and I felt that overall it was a bit too dull and a bit too dreary to really make myself love it. However, it really does fit the atmosphere of the series, as the whole idea is that everything is depressing, inevitable, and sad, and in some ways good and in some ways bad, so is the art style. So while I don't particularly like the art style, I think it does work for the atmosphere the series is trying to give off.
しゅうちゃん、待っててね。しゅうちゃんに会う前に一つだけやっておきたいことがあるの。すぐ戻るから待っててね。
As for Saikano's soundtrack, the opening song is strong and has a great melancholic feel to it, really getting you into the mood that the series is giving off. However, if you're going to listen to it outside the series, I wouldn't say it's a particularly great song to listen to. So while it works for the atmosphere of the series, again, I don't feel it's something that you would enjoy outside of it. Its ending song is also no exception to this rule. I felt that it really got you out of the series very nicely, and it worked really well for the series. It's a very subtle and slow song that really made me calm down after seeing the intensity of each episode. And lastly, the soundtrack of Saikano is full of very melancholic and depressing songs. There's nothing upbeat or exciting here. It really does add to the atmosphere, and all these elements together, the animation, the sound, all of it works to give yourself that feeling that the series is trying to give off. So atmospherically, I loved every bit of it. However, if I was listening to the soundtrack outside of the series, I'm not sure I'd love the songs quite as much. Story-wise, Saikano is a very structured growth story, similar to Serial Experiments Lain, Paranoia Agent, or Kaiba, if you've seen any of those. It really has a clear message it's trying to give out, and the entire series is a build-up, a growth to try to get to that point. And so every piece of it, all of its essence is really going towards that singular goal, and I think Saikano did a really good job at this.
知性って何ですか? いずれわかる。余計なこと聞くな。もしかして、すげえ兵器かなんかですか? バカ言え。あんなんが兵器なものか。ああ、兵器なんて可愛い代物じゃねえよ。あいつは死神だ。
I would say there's two major focuses to the series, the yin and yang, if you will. You have the relationship between Shuji and Chisei, and that's the sort of the nice aspect of it, the loving, the romance, and it really drives the story along. It's what you want to happen, the good things. Then the other side, you have the ever-escalating war, and that's the bad side, the yang, the horrible part of the story that you're trying to avoid, but you know that's where a lot of the focus is. That's where a lot of the reasons the conflict of the series is at. And then you have the driving factor of the series, Chisei's transformation, her becoming this weapon and her distancing herself more and more from humanity, feeling that she is becoming less and less human, where their relationship is becoming stronger at the same time. So it's this really interesting dynamic of this war, this transformation, and this romance all building up together and at the same time sort of destroying themselves together. And I felt that this was the really most interesting part of Saikano. There's always this push and pull between all these different factors. As for Chisei's transformation itself, you see her transforming into this less and less human and more killing machine, the weapon that she calls herself. And this transformation is reflected in herself emotionally too. She feels less guilt almost in a way for all of her killing. She becomes more and more robotic as a person, but at the same time she's trying so hard to hold on to her humanity.
仕方なくなんかそうふざけんなってそう
修二君突然にごめんなさい修二君って誰か好きな人いますか
Saikano is also a series with very intense themes, and that's what really makes this series stand out and work. We all know that war is awful, but the level of cruelty, inevitability, and dread in Saikano teaches us something more.
感情を表す言葉がたくさん。悲しい、苦しい、切ない、泣きたい、かわいそう。そして最後に、知っててくれて嬉しい。本当は今までずっと寂しかった。一体なんだこれ。
It shows us that the human desire to protect others can be one of humanity's cruelest compassions. Saikano also does a good job with its side stories, where each one is a reflection of what's going on in the main story. They're sort of tidbits of the different aspects and flaws in humanity. Unfortunately, though, these are paced horribly and sort of juxtaposed to the main storyline, and I always felt that they just felt too weird to really fit into the series, and they're one of the most jarring aspects of it.
いいって。
By the end of the series, one has to question how they got to that point. Who was to blame? The ending doesn't answer these questions, but rather focuses on the remaining happiness and hope for humanity. And I felt this was a little bit of a lackluster climax. I would have really liked a giant philosophical point to be said, and instead they focus on a final romance. So while I believe it's appropriate for the series, I really wish it did have an exciting climax. And overall, I thought that was a problem with the series overall. During any of the important climactic moments of the series, it really just didn't feel that much more intense than the series as a whole. There were very little calm moments, and without them, you never felt like the intense ones were that important. Alright, so now on to characters. Tsuji is in many ways the main protagonist of the story. He comes from a somewhat normal viewpoint, but has much stirring beneath the surface. He learns to truly love Chisei as the series goes on, but is conflicted with her changing nature. As he sees his world and his relationships falling apart, he feels an ever stronger pull to get away from it all, but at the same time is always pulled closer by his emotions as they get the best of him. He makes mistakes, grows, but always stays as the same flawed character he is. His reactions are beautifully confused and desperate, and although I never found him entirely likable, I think that maybe that was the entire point. I must say though that Chisei is really the star of the cast for me. Her innocent image is always held even after her countless cruelties. The audience never really gets to see her killing anyone specifically, which helps retain that illusion throughout the entire series. As she becomes more destructive, her desperation and love for Shuji only strengthens. She is well aware of how terrible she is and wishes to protect those she loves. It is unfortunate, though, that her background is so loose, because she is hiding her identity from everyone, which seems impossible to me, not to mention how did the military get her to become this weapon in the first place? None of this is really explained in the series. Ignoring those discrepancies, though, her character is wonderfully multifaceted, from innocent to cruel, to desperate, to possibly a bit mature and sexual as a being too. Lastly, the sidecast is well used as an augment to the plot. I really enjoyed many of them, and they helped accentuate the core story, which is really how it should be for a series like this. So while none of them are particularly strong characters on their own, I feel like they did their job right. So, does Saikano teach us something about ourselves? Is humanity's fate really that inevitable? We are destroying our planet, we are at war all over the world, and we are fighting tough economic times. At what point does humanity itself as a species grow? At what point do we show hope for the future? With all this in mind, I'm going to give Saikano 4 out of 5 stars. It's a truly excellent series with a great message. It's unfortunate though that some technical issues, some problems with plot holes, and some ridiculous scenes throughout the series will really turn some people off. But if you're interested in this type of series, I highly recommend it, and I think you'll have a great time. So if you have any questions, comments, or requests, you can send them to aniview@hotmail.com or send us a comment on our YouTube page. We also can be contacted on our forums at aniviewreviews.com, where we keep our archive of old videos. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.